time, he became a Japanese citizen and took the name Enomiya Mabiki. With the blessing of the then Pope, contributions came from all around the world, and the construction of a new church was completed, symbolically, on August the 6th, 1954. The building, officially the Church of the Assumption of Mary, but generally known as the Memorial Cathedral of World Peace, was built in a modern style with brick panels infilling concrete beams. The bricks were made up not just from clay, but also included in the mix was ash from the site on which the original church stood. So the bricks actually include debris from the destroyed church and its surroundings, and even, most probably, ashes from local people obliterated when the atomic bomb exploded. This remarkable church, where Mass is said in 6 languages, stands not merely as a witness to the terrible deeds that launched the nuclear age, beneath whose shadow we still live, but it also stands as a symbol of hope that has quite literally risen from the ashes of destruction and despair. It is an inspiration to all who continue to strive for peace.
Minasama, honjitu wa okeshi tadaki arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you all for coming today. On 6th August 1945, 76 years ago, the city of Hiroshima in Japan bore the brutal annihilation by a nuclear bomb. 3 days later, it was repeated on the city of Nagasaki. It is estimated that well over 200,000 died in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Over 600,000 hibakusha were affected by the bombs, and they suffered the most horrific injuries and traumas. The inhabitants of these 2 cities were caught unaware. Everything was destroyed, and the scars of that destruction remain for decades thereafter. As we stand here today, we pray for all those who have lost their lives and those who continue to suffer from the most unthinkable day of horror. As we remember the horrors of that day 76 years ago, we must remind ourselves that the bombings on Hiroshima and Nagasaki should not be seen as the dawn of nuclear warfare, but the beginning of humanity's moral awakening to bring about a world without nuclear weapons. The memory of Hiroshima and Nagasaki must never fade away. Wasure nahide etikure arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you for not forgetting this day.
There now follows 1 minute of silence. And this is perhaps my favourite house in Kingston by the river, the one dead across the river from us, opposite. I saw a little fox running by there. So the speeches went on rather too long. My phone cut out partway through that first woman's speech. She's reading a speech on behalf of another man who's unable to be here. So that went on for 7 minutes, something like that. Reasonably good, but there was... And then the Lord Mayor, was she too quiet? Sorry, not Lord Mayor. The Mayor, she was rather quiet. She's a Liberal Democrat councillor, as is her husband. She's a solicitor, he's a barrister. So those three ladies were bowing when the Madam Mayor bowed, speaking Japanese. I'm guessing they are Japanese. So there are about 45 people here, and about 6 of them are of East Asian ethnicity. So but it seems to be only 3 of them of Japanese ancestry, because obviously it's got a particular significance for Japan. So I concurred with some of what was said, but I think the slight problem is creating a hierarchy of victims here, because 60 million people got killed in that nuclear war. The vast majority the vast majority were not killed by nuclear weapons. So how about those who are killed by conventional bombs or bullets or any other means? Now, I think we should have said it, but when we're expressing our compassion, our sorrow for the loss of those Japanese civilians, that's not to say that we are denying or minimizing the countless heinous crimes committed by the Empire of Japan. I know that all sovereign states, and obviously non-sovereign states, have committed crimes, but sorry to say, not wishing to be Japanophobic, but Japan's record was really one of the worst in the world at the time. Now, no one should be mistreated on account of being Japanese, or any nationality. And what other ways was there to end the war? I mean, these are pacifists, and they're not all pacifists in the CND. What are you going to do? How would you have fared under these totalitarian regimes? You would have been in a concentration camp for being a pacifist. So, you are privileged because a state that is willing to fight defends your rights, and you wouldn't have any such rights if people weren't willing to fight. So I have some sympathy with their humanitarianism, and yes, it would be better if there was no war and better if there were no nuclear weapons, but we can't disinvent them. What are we going to do? What if every country but one got rid of their nuclear weapons? Then that one would be able to hold everyone to ransom. And yes, it is frightening, Donald Trump's insane rhetoric, fire and fury, and Little Rocket Man and Kim Jong-un saying that he might launch these nuclear attacks. And worrying, the nuclear proliferation is worrying, and the North Korean nuclear range increases and increases. And there are other things to bear in mind. Getting rid of nuclear weapons actually doesn't do much good. South Africa got rid of them. Okay, it didn't lead to general disarmament. Ukraine got rid of them, and they got invaded by Russia as a result. If they had nuclear weapons, Russia wouldn't dare invade. Kazakhstan got rid of them. They haven't been invaded so far, but it hasn't led to multilateral disarmament. So here we are tossing the flowers as a memorial on the River Thames to float downwards towards the sea, to the east, and onwards towards Japan. So a fitting, poignant, touching tribute. What are those white flowers? Are they lilies? And the swan has come to peck one. So it really is a sublime evening. Look at that, quite clear in the sky. Just a few clouds here. So that's enough from Kingston. Okay, I'll say goodbye now.